got Doomsday Download. Welcome to another episode of the Doomsday Download. I am Talon. Sitting across from me, as always, my good sir, on a rainy October day, Dolatrol with the soul in his shoes. How are you?
Oh, soul in my shoes. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm good, man. How are you?
I am pretty solid, man. I'm very excited to talk a little bit today about Big Mouth and also some adult cartoons. But first of all, I guess just to let people know, this is, like I said, Doomsday Download, and it's all about saving the most essential pop culture for the end of the world, man. And I know that you love a good adult cartoon.
I do. Yeah, and I take advantage of the large catalog of them that we have now. I'm excited to see if you have, like, any wild cards on your list.
Yeah, I definitely do. I mean, for 100%, I'll give you a tease right now and just say my number 5 turned out to be a pretty good wild card.
Ooh,
yeah.
okay.
Do you think you have any wild cards?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd say I have one that's definitely, I think, will come out of left field for you.
Wow. Okay. Excited to hear that.
But we're not there yet, dude.
We're not there yet.
Keep it on track.
And we're not even to Big Mouth yet, because we still have our official question of the day.
That's right.
I think to keep it simple, I will just say, if you could have any animation style of your life, what animation style do you think you'd want your life to be in? Like, you now look in this style of one of the characters from the show, the world around you looks like the show. What would you go for?
I'm going to go Jimmy Neutron.
Jimmy Neutron?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the only one I can think with, like, that full 3D kind of, style.
Yeah.
But I just love how crazy, like, over the top people, like, the characters' heads are and, like, their facial features. Everything just looks really fun in Jimmy Neutron.
Okay, yeah. Why do you want 3D? Because I feel like part of the appeal would be getting something classic, cartoony, kind of weird. So why lean 3D?
2 words. Jimmy's mom. Go back, Google it.
Okay.
There's my animation style.
Okay, so I guess for that reason, by that logic, you could also say Dexter's Lab. Why? Dexter's mom.
That's true, yeah. Too many right angles in that animation.
Okay. Fair enough. You're a man of principles, and your principles don't include right angles, apparently.
That's correct. What about yours?
You know, it might just be because it's kind of top of mind, but I will stick with it. I think that the Rick and Morty style is so signature and, like, so cool to look at. I love the eyes especially. I love that they just did, like, asterisks for the eyes.
Yeah.
They're very peculiar, and I just think that would be such a cool look to the world.
Whose eyes?
All of them. They all have weird asterisks on the eyes. You didn't notice that?
No.
So they've got the big, huge, it's not called a pupil. What's the opposite? What's the egg white of the eye, if you had to guess?
Eye whites.
The eye whites, yeah. So the eye whites are just huge. They're just like, meatball size. Yeah. And then they've got these little butthole cross hashes to them.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
I'll have to go back and take a look.
Do you have a question of the day, or?
Yes, I do. Okay. What is something that you would consider? I've had this on my list for a while, so I'm hoping I haven't asked it before. Mm-hmm. What is something that you would consider like a guilty pleasure TV show that you return to?
Ooh, okay. This is a pretty classic answer, and it used to be one of my all-time favorites. Californication.
Okay.
It's great. It's very funny, but especially now, it's one that, like, every time I recommended it with caveats where I was like, hey, this is about a guy who's kind of a misogynist and kind of a mess.
Sure.
He's very, and I'm sure they meant to do this, but he's kind of modeled after like a modern day Bukowski, where he's just like drinking all the time and chasing after women and kind of can be a little scummy. So that's the guilty part of it, but the pleasure part of it is, dude, it's fucking hilarious. Like, there's so many good lines in that show.
I didn't realize that it was considered like a comedy.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
Oh, yeah. It's definitely, it's like a dramedy, but I would say there's more comedy to it than the drama side of things.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of like Weeds. You remember how Weeds was like, yes, it's funny, but also we're following the plot here. So
Sure. Yeah, I would imagine then Weeds you would consider like more of a drama than a comedy.
Again, I think it's almost like 50-50.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I would say mine would be Bosch.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why is that a guilty pleasure, though?
Just because I recognize that, like, the formula of the show, it falls into a lot of those kind of tropes of the genre. But it is so well shot, and some of the, especially like the nighttime scenes of Los Angeles, are just gorgeous. And it does have really compelling storytelling. And he's just a very likable protagonist, and his voice is so satisfying, like just acoustically satisfying to listen to.
Yes, he's resonant. He's like a good open show. You go to a show and you see this man talking. That's the whole show.
Yeah. What a great comparison.
Speaking of show, did you watch Bosch Legacy or whatever? It's like his new show.
Yeah, so the Bosch Legacy has already been out for a while, but I think it's like season 2 just came out. I haven't watched that.
Okay.
But I did watch the first season. Not as good, so the streaming platform that it's on now is Freevee.
Ugh.
Yeah, it was Amazon Prime.
Oh my God. Is Freevee the one that fucking you have to watch it with ads?
Yeah.
That's the worst.
Yeah. So I didn't love that.
Yeah.
And just it lost a lot of its cast, but definitely would recommend if you're ever looking for a good show to power through. The actual original Bosch series on Amazon Prime is a lot of fun.
Nice. And how many seasons is it, the original?
Dude, I think it's like 7.
Okay. It's actually funny too that you say that that's 7 seasons, because there's a lot of that right now out there in the world.
Oh, tell me more.
Yes. So we're talking about Big Mouth, season 7.
What a graceful segue.
Well, I was going to say another show first, but yeah, I'll say it anyways. Rick and Morty is also on season 7, and then Big Mouth, which is the topic of the day.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. So it's all dropped at once, the way that they always do on Netflix.
Yeah.
Have you checked out any of it, the new season?
No. Okay. So my wife and I will watch the Big Mouth seasons. We'll kind of binge them in like a day. And we were putting this one off just because we've had other things that we've been watching. And then, when we discussed it today, I figured, well, you're just going to have to kind of carry this one as far as any season 7 references.
Fair. Yeah, I only had a couple notes, really. I only watched the first 2 episodes, but here's just my thoughts for it. So, as always, I've broken this down by emojis, because you know me. I have the eggplant emoji, which is the good stuff. And then I have the little penis emoji where you put your fingers close together. And that's the thing that wasn't as good. And then I have kind of a thinking about it emoji. So we'll get to that at the end. So which one do you want first? You want some good stuff or the weird stuff?
Wait, no doo-doo emoji?
No, the doo-doo this time got replaced by the pinchy, the little penis emoji.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go the good first.
Okay. So, good news, still super funny. I am definitely laughing every episode, which feels good. I actually made a note of this, that especially by season 7, there are a lot of sitcoms that aren't funny anymore, where you're sitting there kind of like reminiscing on what the show used to be.
Sure.
So an example that leapt to my mind is like That 70s Show. Like the first 3 seasons are so fucking good that when you start to get to the slower seasons, you're like, I want you to be what you used to be. You were beautiful,
Yeah.
So yeah, luckily this show is still firing on all cylinders. I think comedy-wise, you're going to get a laugh out of both episodes, at least that I've seen so far.
Sure.
I will also say that like the topics still feel super relevant. So it's funny to think that we've had, I'm not even sure at this point, maybe 60 or maybe 70 episodes of Big Mouth, and they haven't lost material about puberty and the problems around puberty to talk about. Like it feels like they could be retreading a lot of ground, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they're not. So just to give you an idea, I won't say any firm spoilers, but like there was one that had to do with Nick and wanting to have muscles, and I thought that was really well done. That really stood out to me. And then there's also one where Andrew, played by John Mulaney, is dealing with being like a FAP addict. So, again, he's masturbating too much. And they actually mirror his real life. So if people don't know, and you definitely do, John Mulaney had an intervention and went to not therapy. What is it called?
Rehab.
Thank you. Yeah. That version of therapy. So yeah, them kind of mirroring his life I thought was really cool, because it just showed that John Mulaney has got a good sense of humor about it, where he was fine with it. And then the last really great thing, the animation style, dude, it's clean as ever. The show looks fucking great. It blows my mind. I don't know how much work it takes. Like, I don't know how much they've gotten it down to computer animation versus like hand drawn. But I think it's probably more computer at this point, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I would imagine.
Yeah.
In the 2 episodes that you've watched, any solid Lola or Coach Steve content?
Yeah. Okay. So there's a surprising amount of Coach Steve, which is good. I think you'll
Nice.
like that. Lola actually has the like hook to episode 1. She has the kind of bring people back. And she has a little piece of episode 2, but I don't remember that much of her so far. I don't think she's had like a Lola episode.
Sure.
So yeah, I know that for you and Can, right? Those are like the 2 big characters.
And Jay.
And
Jason Mantzoukas, like, just his voice acting alone
Yeah.
is so great. And he has such a, like, distinctive voice.
He does.
But yeah, that character, you fall in love with Jay watching that show.
It's so funny to think that like he and Andrew are the biggest pervs on the show. Yeah. And I honestly flip from scene to scene who I think is the bigger perv. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like Jay is like more of an outward perv. He creeps on other people.
Yes.
Andrew does too, for sure. But a lot of it is, when he's alone, when he's isolated, that really stands out.
Yeah, and he's like trying to contain it, or at least maybe it's just that, like you said, he's not living as loud as Jay is. Jay is like, I want you to know I'm a freak.
Yeah. Which you got to respect it.
You got to respect it.
Okay, so let's go Tiny Penis.
Okay, so it's only really one Tiny Penis note so far, and it's the show this season is set in a very weird time period. It's supposed to be set in their last couple months of middle school, and even the first episode is a tease of them getting ready to go to high school. So like they go visit a high school, and the joke is like, what's that new world gonna look like?
Yeah.
But then in the end of the episode, they do a song where they're like, but we're not gonna do it for 9 more episodes, basically saying this is still the middle school season.
Sure.
Get used to that idea.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a weird rug pull where I was like, we're in season 7 watching this. I was kind of excited now to see them go off to high school and see what that looks like. But instead, they're going to do just like the last couple months of school. And that feels like it could be really good, but it also could be like a retread. You know what I mean? That's the worry I have.
Do you think that it will lose any of its charm when they go to the high school era?
I don't think so, because freshman year is so rife with content.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like the weirdness, the transition period that we all hit in life where you're like, I'm now at the bottom of the barrel again.
Yeah.
I think they'll be okay. Don't you?
Yeah. Yeah, I would imagine. It is one of those things where, like, you kind of just anticipate, like you were saying, now that we're going into season 7, that hopefully the humor hasn't dried up, and hopefully it still has that charm. It sounds like it does so far.
Yeah.
And I do hope they nail it, because so many things they just nail, as far as, like, Jesse's reaction to her parents splitting up.
Right.
And, I would imagine the feelings that a young woman has when she first gets her period. Things like that, they just hit it so perfectly that I hope they can do it for high school, especially since that's, I'd say, a period that I remember a lot more than my puberty days.
Yeah. The actual high school run is pretty iconic in the mind versus like 6th grade. I don't think I have any memories that stand out to me still from 6th grade.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, any memories I have were just of you and I getting up to our normal hijinks.
Yeah, for sure. Like us being at the GSR or the Hilton is a memory, not like anything to do with actual school. So
Right. Now, are you excited to finish this season?
Yes, 100%. I am ready to watch more and more every night. But actually, so that brings me to my thinky face, which is basically my question for the season, what I think is happening here. So I said, what dramatic tween angst will bookend the season? And then I have some notes like, seems like Missy's sex drive is developing. Nick wants to be taken more seriously. Not sure about Jay and Jesse yet. They're in the episodes, but I don't have a clear sense of where they're headed.
Sure.
And then my last things are just like, I wonder who will be horny for each other by the end of the season, and I wonder who will be angry at each other by the end of the season. Because they always end on like, you remember the season where essentially Nick and Andrew like hated each other?
Yeah.
So that was like a big flip for the show, and they had to like, right side that in the following season. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm leaning.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, no, that gets me pumped to dive back in. Like I said, I think Candy and I will probably end up binging it in like maybe over the course of a day or two.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad to hear that it still has that charm in just the few episodes you've seen.
Yeah. No, it's definitely still a charmer. I don't think it's the best adult animated show I've ever seen.
Well, I'm not interested in what you do think is. So.
Well, you better be interested because it's the clear winner.
Oh, okay.
It's also kind of what we do here. So.
Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, that's the topic for today. Okay.
So yeah, kind of scooting over to our main topic, we've got our honorable mentions, and I kind of want to kick it over to you. I want to hear how your list shaped up here.
Okay. Honorable mentions.
Okay.
First, I'm going to go King of the Hill.
Ooh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, so King of the Hill was one that I never watched like consistently, but I would always catch it, and it always grabbed me. Second, F is for Family.
Okay.
There are some themes that I'm not super stoked about with that show, but a lot of the humor does hit. I've never been a big fan of Bill Burr's, not to say that I don't like his comedy or anything. I just it's never been my cup of tea. But I do like a lot of the dad's tendencies in that. I think probably just because it reminds me a lot of my dad.
Yeah, I could see that.
South Park
Yep. Okay.
is in my honorable mentions.
Made my list.
Yeah, and that makes sense. Just growing up, you were a huge South Park fan. That was one that I, again, didn't really watch regularly, and a lot of it I consumed through my friendship with you. And then I have one more honorable mention, and that's The Great North.
Okay.
It's created by the creators of Bob's Burgers.
Okay.
Has a great cast. Nick Offerman is
Nice.
the dad.
Nice.
Paul Rust is one of the sons. Will Forte is another son. So that show's a lot of fun. And I feel like it's kind of slept on. I never hear people talking about it.
Okay. So I will say that my honorable mentions, Aqua Teen Hunger Force, we watched it growing up. I love it. Some really great voices on that show. Beavis and Butthead, especially Beavis and Butthead Do America, and their newer movie, which I can never remember the name of. It's like Do the Galaxy or something. Both very funny. And then the one that almost made my list at number 5 got pushed off at a late hour, the 11th hour, some would say.
Okay.
Yeah. War terms. Archer, which is
wow. I'm
great.
actually surprised that didn't make your list.
Okay, it was right there, man. And I was like, yeah, I'm pretty confident. But then something snuck in. So.
I knew that you really loved it. So, yeah, I'm surprised.
Yep.
Okay, well, let's get to your number frickin' 5 then, my dude.
Okay, I like it. So my number 5 is the curveball that I think most people haven't seen. I know you haven't seen it. It's fucking great, though. Have you heard of Harmon Quest?
Oh, is that... Tell me about it.
So it's Dan Harmon is on the show, and he also has his normal cast that are with him, right? So they're all sat around a table, and it's like a D&D-esque show.
Okay.
So Dan Harmon, Jeff B. Davis, Aaron McGathy, and then Spencer Crittenden is the DM or the dungeon master at the head of the table. But they do it in front of a live audience, and they always have an extra person show up who's a comedian, a well-known comedian. So just some names for you that have been on the show before. They've had Kumail Nanjiani on a couple times.
Yeah.
They've had Thomas Middleditch on a couple times before. They've had Matt Gorley on before. They've had a Ron Funches on. They have a ton of really funny people come on, and they all do these improv adventures, and it's half live action, so them at the actual table, and half animated, so then the animators come in and actually make it look like the cartoon. And it's fucking excellent, man.
Oh, shit.
Like, honestly, it's so rewatchable. It's funny to put it at my number 5. It is not a soft number 5. This is not like, oh, backing our way in. It's like there are such bangers ahead of it that it's at number 5, but it's still infinitely watchable.
Wow, okay. Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to check it out.
Definitely do.
Admittedly, I think the only Dan Harmon properties that I've watched are Community and Rick and Morty.
Yeah, I was in the same camp. I mean, this is the third thing that I had watched from him. And I will say, just so everyone knows, like, it's about D&D, but you don't need to know D&D to really enjoy it. It's just kind of like a silly fantasy thing. And then you just know that, like, they're rolling in the background and doing all that. So it's cool.
Cool. Yeah, I'm definitely going to check that out. Where do you watch it? Anywhere legal, or are you...
Yeah, I mean, for you, do you have, like, Crunchyroll?
Yeah.
You do? Then you have it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll have to check it out on there.
Yeah.
I thought Crunchyroll was specifically anime.
Well, so they're like, I think Crunchyroll is wrapped up with, like, it's called like RZR or some shit. I can never remember what it's called. But anyways, I think you'll have access to it.
Sounds made up, but all right.
Yeah.
Okay, my number 5, and this might break your heart, Rick and Morty.
That does break my heart. And I can't believe that it's that low on your list.
You couldn't even say break my heart. That's how heartbroken you are.
That bakes my heart, man. Just puts it right in the fucking oven. 425.
Yeah, so I really loved the first few seasons. I did kind of fall off, I think, around like season 4. Not because I don't really enjoy the show. Some of the humor is just unlike any other show that you see, and the animation is great. A lot of the themes are great. I think the reason that it's number 5 is because there are some very dark moments in it that I like. They legitimately like will affect my mood. A lot of it is it's around the mom and dad's marriage.
Yeah.
And just how unhappy they are a lot of the time, that really will just bum me out.
Yeah.
And I think that, well, I won't say that that's the reason we fell off. I think the real reason is because there was a small stretch there where it was really hard to find a place to stream it properly. And so I think that's why we kind of stopped watching.
Right.
And then we just never got back into the groove of it. So I think if we pick up where we left off and get back into it, it might climb that list for me. But it ain't going to replace 1 and 2.
Okay. Well, he's confident about that. Yeah, I will say also to your point that, it had the big layoffs. Like it's a weird show in that it's one of the most popular adult cartoons ever, and Adult Swim lives and dies by its success at this point. But they've had random 2-3 year gaps between seasons regularly where you're like, I have no idea when this show is coming back. So even if you were trying to get into like a groove with it, it was hard until now to get a consistent schedule to hop on and watch it.
Yeah, which I mean, to be honest, just knowing like Dan Harmon and how he is with a lot of these properties, I'm really happy that he does continue to return. Because I could see after like just all the complication around the show and keeping it going. Yeah. If Adult Swim weren't like, if they weren't like, pushing him to keep the show going. Yeah. I don't know necessarily if he would, just because it seems like such a difficult thing. And obviously everything happening with Justin Roiland. Yeah.
Oh, that's a whole thing in itself too. Right. So. Yeah, no, okay, that's fair for you, not for me, but that's okay. Number 4 on my list is South Park. So we touched on this a little bit earlier. I will just say that like those 4 boys are iconic. I think you can even just do their blacked out silhouettes. If you showed that to enough people, they'd be like, I think that's the boys from South Park. They're just
for sure, yeah.
Pretty amazing that way. And the early seasons, like you're going to hear with a lot of these shows, are really funny and have some great episodes. And I love the town of South Park. My biggest issue with it is that there was probably like a 5 or 7 season run where you're like, this is firing. And then, like you said, nowadays it's a shell of itself completely. Sure. And it's gotten really unwatchable. And it started to do these long season arcs, which was never the point of South Park. And it started to do them about really annoying, stupid things. And then they started like tagging the episodes with #cancel South Park, which is kind of self-aware and cute. But also it's kind of like if you had a chef who was making you food at your favorite restaurant, and then like 5 years in, you go in and they start like snotting in your food and going like, it's me, I'm making fun of culinary arts. You're like, okay, but I'm going to go eat somewhere else then because this isn't good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's weird. I didn't realize that they were at that point with the show either. Yeah. That's kind of a bummer, man. Because like it is something that for a lot of people that is like, they've been able to make it kind of their forever show for so long. Yeah. That it sucks to kind of, I don't know, see it change into something completely different.
Yeah, to like give up on itself. It does suck a little bit, but
I am glad that made your list though, just because I feel like there's no undercutting how important that show was to your childhood.
Definitely. I was the only kid I knew who had a Cartman book bag. Yellow book bag. So
what a frickin' nerd. Okay, my number 4. I think this will also break your heart. Big Mouth.
I mean, that's crazy. It's a little bit higher up for me, but yeah, wow.
I won't go super deep into it just because we just talked about it. Really enjoy it. It doesn't hit the same as these other shows for me.
Okay. Fair enough. So that was your number 4. My number 3 is Big Mouth. There you go. Dovetailing right in.
Well, that worked.
I think it's like one of the most impressive shows, not because of necessarily even the humor. I enjoy the humor a lot. Obviously, that's why you come back, right? Yeah. But I've always said that like the blunt and honest look at puberty that the show is willing to take is so refreshing for a show. Like, so many adult cartoons think they just have to be, you know, dick and fart humor, and it's like, that's great, and there's a time and place for that. But to see a show come along and go like, it's okay to be weird and too horny as a kid, and it's also okay as adults to reflect on it and make a show about this, even though when it seems weird to other people.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've always loved this show, and it's a banger.
Yeah, and I think that I don't know how, like, which one of us started watching Big Mouth first and recommended it to the other. But goddamn, man, like that first season and just watching it, it is so fresh and just doing things in such a new way that it is hard to not just immediately become addicted to it.
Yeah, you're right. It has like one of the stronger first seasons to where you don't have to say to people like, oh, you know, maybe give it 6 episodes, see if you like it. It's like, no, you'll know based off the first episode if you're really into it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so what number are we on for me? 3?
I think you're on 3.
3, yeah. Okay. This is my wild card show.
Okay.
Fiona and Cake.
I have no fucking idea what that is.
Okay, so you are familiar with Adventure Time, kind of. So Adventure Time is a fantastic show. It is technically a kid's show, so I didn't include it on my list. But there's just so much to that show, and they really go in depth into just the lore of the world that they've created. Yeah. There's excellent music, everything like that. It just kind of fires on all cylinders. Fiona and Cake is a spin-off of that, and it is an adult cartoon. So it kind of picks up parallel to Adventure Time, explores a little bit more adult themes. It's centered around an adult who is kind of struggling in her life in like a version of kind of like a New York City. Okay. And these events happen that kind of change the projection of her life, and it is fantastic. It explores some of the characters from Adventure Time, but in like kind of a more adult way. And yeah, the writing is just, it was on point. It's 1 season so far. Okay. And so that's how good it was that it made my top 5 just with that 1 season. But yeah, we couldn't get enough. We kind of binged through that. Obviously, we love that universe anyways. Right. So it already, you know, kind of that helped that show make my list. But highly recommend, and you don't have to have watched Adventure Time to dive into it.
Yeah, so it's like its own characters, right?
Yeah, so HBO Max, or I guess Max now, they have done like 4 standalone episodes that were after the events of Adventure Time. It revisited, each episode would revisit like certain characters. This, they just kind of fired up their own series based on Fiona and Cake, which were very minimally explored in Adventure Time. Oh, okay. In the like fucking 20 seasons of Adventure Time, or however long it was. It wasn't that long, but however long it was. Yeah. And they've created their own story too, stuff that was never explored in Adventure Time. Okay. So yeah, highly recommend.
Okay. Wow. I'm surprised to hear that cracked your list, especially because like you'd made the point earlier about Rick and Morty having kind of like down vibes. And this sounds like a show that is getting, like you said, she's like going through an identity crisis in some ways. Yeah. So it sounds like a show that takes itself a little seriously sometimes. Is it more of a drama or like a comedy or?
More of a comedy. And there are some lines that legit just made me crack up. I feel like even when I think something is funny, I won't laugh. It's just not like my immediate... At least when I'm watching something, a movie or a TV show, I won't laugh. It's not my immediate reaction, even if I do think something's really funny. This, like, fully had me cracking up a few times. Okay. And it's just, like, the minor line deliveries, which Adventure Time did really well, where it's just those one-off little lines that, those sneaker hits, you know, where you just, you don't expect it. It's on the tail end of a sentence. It's completely ignored by the characters, but it'll get you.
I do love those sneaker hits.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the best shows are good at doing those. Obviously, number 3, Big Mouth, was good at doing those. My number 2, though, this might surprise a lot of people because people are like, okay, you're coming down to the list. What's it going to come down to? The Simpsons.
Yeah.
That's my number 2. It's a great show, and I think, like, as responsible curators of pop culture, maybe some other people would put Simpsons at number 1 and save it forever. It's still great. I have really fond memories of it. Obviously, the cast is really good. But where I am now, I like my adult comedies to feel pretty adult and to be dealing with things that feel pretty, you know, different and out there and specific to the experience of being an adult.
Sure.
And The Simpsons is more like a family sitcom in a lot of ways, where it's like very safe, it's on cable, it's not doing anything bold and ballsy. So I still love it, I still respect it, but I can't put it at my number one, so it's got to go number 2.
Yeah, that's fair. My number 2, Simpsons.
Hey there.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely love The Simpsons. It's fun because I'm currently, you know, watching through it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on season 2, and you really feel them getting into that groove of their humor in season
Nice.
2, which is a lot of fun. Yeah, and it is a lot more family themed. The first episode is actually a Christmas episode, which is insane.
That
to
is
me.
insane.
That's just not something you normally see.
Yeah.
But just knowing too that it is just this powerhouse that has inspired so much comedy in the world.
Yeah.
It's fun to watch it because it's like you're watching the best version of something in a lot of ways. Yeah. So that's cool. But in the first season, there's a quote that I was just trying to look up. That's why I was on my phone. But Homer, he's interviewing for something. I don't remember what it is. Mm-hmm. And the interviewer asks him, "Do you like kids?" And his response, "What? You mean all the time? Even when they're nuts?" And that's such a funny, that was like the first, I think, line in the first season that cracked me up. Even when they're nuts is such a funny reaction because, I mean, kids are nuts.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, and it's a really good, it's a good balance of a joke because you feel like you already got the punchline and then you get that, like you said, the back hitter or whatever it was called. The backhander, whatever it's called.
I'm a sucker for those like tail end jokes that just sneak their way in.
Yep. So yeah, no, that's a great pick. And obviously that means we're both down to our number 1 here.
Oh, I wonder what your number 1 is.
So yeah, again, I went back and forth on this a little bit, but at the end I had to just stay true to myself. It's Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
Yeah. I fucking love this show. I think I went back through the like IMDb recently because it had been a while since I've rewatched the whole show. But while I was getting ready for this the other night, I was scrolling through the episodes and just kind of giving it like, you know, was it great? Was it good? Was it not that good? It took me until the 4th season, I think, to get to like, that one was just okay. Like, that's how good a streak this show had, where it was just funny and interesting and wildly imaginative. And the art style, like I talked about earlier, is so colorful and vivid, but not in like a gross, splotchy, cartoony, ugly kids way. It's like on purpose. It's all with a thought.
Sure.
And yeah, I fucking love it. I love the voices. And I love, even more than that, like here's a small thing. I turned my dad onto this show. Like I'm the reason that he started watching it. And especially in the early seasons, he still watches it now, but especially in the early seasons, it was fun to watch him get quietly addicted to this show. Because I was like, I did that. All the times that you gave me stuff to watch, I gave you something to watch and you love it, you know? So yeah. It's cool.
That's cool. Yeah, I didn't realize that you had introduced him to it or that he was a fan. So that's fun.
Yes.
Yeah, Rick and Morty is just great. There's no way around it.
It's great.
Like I said, it brings me down sometimes. You know, it doesn't bring me down. My number 1, which is Bob's Burgers.
Okay.
I love the show. I loved it right off the hop. Now, I will say season 1, great. Season 2 and 3, if I'm remembering correctly, not great. And I was really bummed because I felt like it lost a lot of its charm and they started focusing on things that weren't the appeal of the show for me. And then after that, it just kicks it into high gear and like they started firing on all cylinders again. On all cylinders.
Okay, yeah.
And they realized what makes that show great, and it is just fantastic from then on.
Yeah.
But one thing that I truly love about that show is the dynamic of the family and just how they are always kind of that family unit and how it explores the relationships between the parents and the kids, where the parents actually treat the kids like humans, which I feel like you don't get in a lot of just kind of all content, you know, movies, TV shows where kids are treated like they have less value than adults. Right. And this show doesn't do that. It validates the kids' feelings and makes them feel heard, which is all just a deeper take on what, you know, generally people are watching a show for. But I feel like the writing is just so good in that like you watch it and you think, if I were a parent, that's the type of parent I'd want. And as a kid, that's the type of parent I want to be. And as a kid, that's the type of parent I'd want. the type of family relationships that I would want.
Yeah.
So maybe it just works because I come from such a dysfunctional family, but that appeal is there, and it is something that I can put on anytime and be fully engaged, and it will make me just feel good.
Good. It's a warm blanket for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Excellent. So there you go. The top 2 for the adult cartoon lineup: Rick and Morty and Bob's Burgers. I think a lot of people will be happy.
Boigas.
Yeah, Boibs Boigas.
What did you think my number 1 would have been before we started this?
I mean, I could have guessed that Bob's Burgers was going to be really high. I was honestly worried, and I guess I shouldn't have been, because this is even more depressing than Rick and Morty for sure. But I was worried you might pick something like BoJack Horseman, because I know that has a ton of love with people who love adult cartoons. But yeah, no, I think that probably makes the most sense. It's the one that you and can watch the most together.
That's true. Yeah, BoJack, and there's a reason that it didn't even make my honorable mentions.
Yeah.
Is because as good as I thought the writing was a lot of the time, that show is so depressing.
I am 1,000% with you. People have said like, oh, it's just such a smart, good, cutting show. And I'm like, yeah, if you can get through how fucking sad it all is, like it doesn't make you feel like, oh, the day is over and I'm relaxing. It makes me feel like a little anxious, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It is just like in the animation style, and the fact that like a lot of them are, different animals and stuff, does not take away from that at all. Like it still fully hits just as hard. Yeah. And it's like, that's not what I want to watch before I go to bed. Like that's normally when I'm watching these things. You know?
Yeah, that brings us right into the binges.
Oh, I thought you were teeing me up. The binges on the fringes. I'll just say it.
There you go. I mean, I was teeing us both up. Can't we just tee off at the same time? So yeah, tell me what you're binging.
Okay, I just started playing this game. Candy and I started playing this game. It's called Spirit of the Island.
Okay.
We didn't realize. So it just came out over the weekend. It was funded on Kickstarter. Uh-huh. And it's like a Stardew Valley / Animal Crossing-esque like cozy game, if you will. But it's a lot of fun so far. We're having fun with it. It is co-op, so we've been playing together. And so far, from what we can see, the premise of the game, you run a farm, you sell those crops, you build relationships with people in the town, you explore, mining, fishing, things like that. So it just kind of scratches that Stardew Valley itch. Stardew Valley rarely gets updated, and we're at the point now with that game where it kind of feels like we've done everything. We're just waiting for the next update. Yeah. So this is kind of scratching that itch for us.
Yeah, you've done everything. You've married everyone. You've scrounged every fish out of the sea. Yeah, you put the hours in.
The oceans are barren in that game because we've outfished the ecosystem.
You've mined for oil.
That's right.
You've displaced families to rob their land.
Okay, first off, Coca-Cola, which is the major corporation in that game, I will never side with them, and you have the option to. Okay. I do things the more difficult way. Well, but I support local small businesses.
You say that here and now, but behind closed doors, we don't know where your money, all your pockets get in line.
Dare you, dude? But anyways, Amazon has some great deals this weekend if you want to check those out.
What a weird sponsored humor. Human humor.
Yeah.
Cool. Right on. I like that. It's a little chill game. Mine is the opposite of a chill game. Okay. It's called The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. I am playing back through that. And, I mean, people know this is CD Projekt Red. This is them when they were at their most, the world loved them the most. Yeah. And it's a great fucking game, man. It's a surprise. I haven't played it since it came out. And obviously I told you about it, and you went back and eventually got through it. Took you like 7 or 8 run-ups, but you got through it. Yeah. And I fucking love it, man. The world is so adventurous and just fun to get lost in, especially after work, where I could just kind of I literally stand in front of my TV with my controller in my hand, and I'm just like, yes, Roach, run. And I'm just going from question mark to question mark. And it's fun to just be at that point as gamers, because I don't know if you remember this, but when you're a kid gaming, everything is too hard. Where you're like, the game is losing the game. That is the game. So now to be at the point where our brains are fully not mushy jello anymore, and to be able to play tough games and play them, I'm playing that on hard actually. Nice. To take it seriously and try and be good at it is it's a fun challenge for me.
Hell yeah, dude. How long have you been playing it in this little replay?
I think probably, you mean like days wise or like
Yeah.
hard hours? Okay, so I probably put in like 5 different days or 7 different days into it.
Oh, nice. Okay, so you're fully on board with it right now.
I am enjoying it.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yep, it is good times, just like we just had. Look at
I
us.
did have a good time here.
Good.
And if you want to have a good time trying to find us,
You already can, you can find us right away. At
where would you go? Oh, I'm saying Doomsday Download Pod on Instagram.
That's right. And on TikTok, Flip Flop, you can find us at.
Doomsday Download.
Okay.
So no pod. You were waiting for me to say
I was
more.
waiting for the pod. I was like, da-da, and there was no pod.
I'm
And,
glad I didn't tee you up for this because you would have messed it up apparently.
Dude, I would have blanked all the way out. And then, of course, if you want to write to us, if you want to send us fan art, if you want to say, oh, man, your takes on our adult cartoons, you guys didn't bring up Family Guy once, you can write to us at...
Doomsday Download Pod at gmail.com.
Excellent. And please, if you enjoyed this, throw us a 5-star review on wherever you're listening. And as we always say, even if you're mad at us, just throw us a 5-star review and then put your feelings out there.
Yeah, just talk mad shit about us. We will read it.
Yeah.
So you're not just screaming into the void.
That's right.
But we'll only read the 5-star reviews.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
We want those stars. We're hungry for them. We're greedy.
Oh, dude, I fucking love stars.
Ooh, just gobble them up. Don't even put any near... Okay, wait, actually, bring them in. I want them all in.
Yeah.
Put them on a platter.
Yeah. Don't even put them near me.
I'm on a diet, but you know what? Ruin my diet. Bring me those stars.
Enable me.
Yeah.
All right, my boy. Well, folks out there, if you are listening to this on the way to work, have a fantastic day at work.
And if you're coming home from work, I hope you had a great day at work.
And night-night.
Night-night.